Good morning, Internet. This is Alex does Sudokus, and it is Tuesday the 15th of September 2020, and we have another medium New York Times Sudoku for you today. So let's dive right in with some Snyder notations. So with that, it means we're gonna go around the board, and by looking at the numbers, we're gonna look into the different cages that they see into, and narrow down candidates where there are only two possible candidates left, and pencil mark those in basically. So for example, this 2 here sees into this cage, blocking out those 3 cells, giving me 2 possible candidates of 2s. I skipped 1 because I couldn't actually see anything from 1s, so starting with 2s. So this 2 actually has a special effect as well, because I've got 2 now locked in columns 1s and 2 in this cage, and if I look up at this cage, it's also locked in columns 1s and 2s. That means I've got a 2 in here somewhere, although I can't tell where just yet, so let's leave that for now. I don't think I can do anything else with 2, so let's have a look at 3s then. 3s. Can't see anything with 3s either, so this is looking surprisingly hard to start with. So I've got a pair of 4s over here by these 2 4s locking these cells, and with Snyder notation basically we ignore any cages where we have more than 2 candidates basically. So if you look in this cage, I've got a 4 looking in these 2 cells and a 4 looking in these 2 cells, giving us a pair of 4s. And we do this because basically it means when we're able to eliminate any candidates going forward, we can immediately know where the confirmed number is basically in those cages, in each of the cages. So I think we can demonstrate that later when I manage to get a bit more progress, but I can't see anything with 5s either. I have a pair of 6s up there because of these 2 6s locking the 2 columns, and the 3 is taking over the cell. So I've got a 6 confirmed over here. So Snyder notation, obviously, if you can confirm a number, you still confirm it. So these 2 6s take up the rows, and that one takes up, well, basically it's locked in that column, basically. So I have another pair of 6s down here because of these 2 6s taking up the rows. And do I have anything else? I think that's it for 6s, so let's have a look at 7s. Well, I can confirm a 7 down here because these 2 7s lock up the columns, and that 7 locks that cell. So this is an example of Snyder notations in action. I'm placing a 7 that eliminates a 6, so 6 has to go here now. So now that means 6 has to be in these 2 cells because I've got 2 6s taking up the columns. And we have another situation where I've got 2 6s in 2 cages locked in rows 2s and 3s, so the remaining 6 has to be in this cage on the top row basically. So it has to be here because I've got a 6 seeing into that cell. So let's continue on with the 7s, and that 7 now sees that 7 sees these 2 cells, and that 7 sees these 2 cells. So that locks a 7 in there, and that in turn pushes the 7s into the top row in this cage. These 2 7s, along with that 7, also locks a pair of 7s over here. But actually, that 7 also removes this as a 7 candidate. So what that means is 7 in this cage has to be on the bottom row. Then within the entire row of the grid, we can't have a 7 anywhere else outside of these 3 cells. So that's called a pointed set of numbers. In this case, it's a pointed triple because I don't know where the 7s is. But it could be a pointed pair as well if there are 2 candidates. But anyway, either way, it basically enforces a 7 in here. So what else can I do? Well, I've got a pair of 7s over here because of these 2 7s as well, and I think that's all the 7s I can do for now. So what about 8s? I have a pair of 8s up there because of this 8 and that 8. In fact, I have an 8 locked over here as well because of these 2 8s and these 2 8s closing down all these cells. So what else can we do? 8s. I have a pair of 8s over here because of this 8 and that 8 lining up. So that means I've got another pair of 8s over here, because this is now a pointed pair of 8s. The 8 has to be in row number 8 within this cage and can't be anywhere outside, so eliminating these 3 cells as 8s. So can we do anything else? I've got finally 3 possible candidates for 3 possible locations for the 8 in this cage, and I'm going to leave that alone under Snyder notations rules. Not rules, but kind of disciplined. This 9 and that 9 locks the 9 over there. So let's maintain on the 9s for now, but I've got another pair of 9s over here because of these 3 9s. So what else can I do with 9s? I've got another pair of 9s over here, but this 9 sees into these 3 cells, so I've got a pair of 9s down here because that 9 ticks the column as well. So that acts as a pointer pair. Again, looking back into this cage, 9 can't go there anymore. It's now forced into that cell. So this 9 also locks a pair of 9s over there, and I think that's all the 9s that I can place. So let's revisit this area here. We've got 2 cells left in this cage, so the only 2 possible numbers they can be, and they are 2s and 1s. So I've got 1 over here, so 2s and 1s are actually resolvable, and that's useful because these 2 1s now locks another pair of 1s over here. Can that 1 do anything else? It locks a pair of 1s over there, and nothing else on the 1s. So what about a 2? Well, that 2 eliminates that pencil marking, forcing a 2 in there as well. And does it do anything over here? It locks a pair of 2s in the corners, so that's kind of useful. And I think that's all I can do with the 2s. So we've done a round of pencil markings from 1 to 9. I like to go up in numbers basically because it's easier to see the hidden triples most of the times. And once we've done a round, what you can do is just revisit the entire board and do another round, because we've placed a lot of numbers since we last looked at the 1, 2s, 3, 4, 5s, and maybe there are new possibilities now. But rather than doing that, what I would like to do is look at the weak areas on the board. And by weak areas, I'm talking about areas where there are only 2 or 3 cells remaining. So for instance, in this column, I've got 2 cells remaining and they are 1s and 2s. Well, I've got 2 looking into this cell, so this has to be the 1 and that has to be the 2. And by placing the 2, I've just eliminated a 1, so that 1 is now confirmed. So now I've got a 1 somewhere over here. I also have a pair of 1s over here because of these ones, thanks to placing that 1. What about the 2s? Does that do anything for us? Well, it locks a pair of 2s over there because of these 2s, but also it locks the 2 in this cell. So now this 2 also acts with these 2s, locking a pair of 2s over there. Does it do anything up here? No, it doesn't. So this 2 has the added bonus of locking on a row 2 candidates left, and that's really useful because it means we can actually place this value, because whatever are in these 2 cells, well, this is basically forced to be a matching pair. Basically, what a matching pair is it's a pair of numbers that are restricted in those 2 cells. So the 3 has to go there or there. So if the 3 goes here, the 4 has to go there, and if the 3 goes here instead, the 4 has to go there. And therefore no other numbers can go in there as well. And that is why we can place the 5 in this cell, because 5 cannot go. It's the only remaining cell within this cage, and it can't go in either of these 2 cells. So now we have developed another weak area on this column, which is 4s and 3s, but as yet we can't actually identify what it is. So we'll leave that for now. What other weak numbers have we got? Areas have we got? We've got here we've got 3, 4 and 5. So we just want to look around the cage and the rows to see if we can see those numbers, and we can't. So 3, 4 and 5 are locked in these 3 cells as well as these 3 cells. So not very useful for now, but let's move on and see if we can find anything else. At a quick glance, I can't see any more weak... Oh, actually, that's kind of a weak area, but it's not really. But this forms a triple, and if we can place these triples can also be placed as well, because this cage will now be restricted to these 3 cells as well. And once these 3 cells are identified, that will restrict these 3 cells as well as a triple. So maybe there is some benefit of doing that. So what are we left with? We're left with 2 3s and 4s. So 4s goes over there because of that 4. So in this row, I'm missing 2, 3, and 4. So I just need to look at the columns to see what numbers look into those cells. So now that I've got 2, 3, and 4 locked in there, these have to be 1s, 5s, and 9s. Now normally, I wouldn't place, I just place 3 1s and 3 5s in these cells. So normally under the Snyder notations, it's kind of like, we don't tend to do that. But in this case, since we're only left with 3 numbers, I think the risk of us getting confused should be quite minimal. So generally speaking, if you've got triple left in a cage, it's okay to pencil mark them in. So let's do that. So now that we've pencil marked in the 1, 5, and 9, well, let's look at what these numbers have to be. So I know they are going to be 3s and 4s at the very least, because I've got 2, 3, and 4s over here, but I've got 2 over here. So I've got 3 and 4s, and there's one more number, which is a 7. So let's pencil mark them in for now. But that hasn't given us anything yet. So let's see. I think we may just go around the board and do another round of Snyder notations, because we haven't really got many weak areas. We've got an area 4, but that's not very useful. So let's see. Let's go through 1s again. 1s. Nothing special happening with 1s. So what about 2s? Pencil marked in the 2s there, and in these 2 cages, and I'm left with 3 possible places for the 2 over here, so I'm going to leave that for now. So what about 3s? 3s, 3, 3. Nothing on 3s either. So, nope, nothing special going on with the 3s. What about 4s? 4s. So 4s are in these 3 cells, but they don't form a triple, because it's tempting to think that this is a 1, 2, 4 triple, but actually I've got 1 leaking into the bottom row as well. So so I can't do much with the 4s either. What about 5s? 5s. Okay, I've got a pair of 5s over there. Don't think that's helpful for us though. So 5s over there. No, that 5 hasn't actually given us anything. What about 6s? 6, 7, 7, 7, 8. This is feeling quite hard actually, because I'm not, that's what she said. I'm not finding any more pencil markings that I can put in. I've got a pair of 9s there, a pair of 9s. So 9s are locked in these 2 cells as well, but it's not really helpful. So that's interesting. Yeah, it's definitely a hard puzzle today for medium difficulties. So what I tend to do when I'm doing hard Sudokus is I will count the numbers now. And what I'm looking for is a weak number. So any numbers that has the least occurrences, I'm going to bear that in mind. So 3s currently, I've only got 3 of them, so it's the weakest number. 4. 4, I've only got 2, so 4 is the weakest number. 5 I've got, so anything that has more than 2 I can ignore. So 4 is the weakest number. So what am I going to do with the 4? Well, I'm going to look around the board where 4 can see into a cell. So I'm going to look at these cells and see if I can actually find what's called a naked single. So what I mean by that is a naked single is basically, I'm going to use this cell for now. So let's pretend that I've got, let's pretend the entire grid starts with all the pencil markings. But what you're going to do is when you see a number, you strip away that number. So I can see a 2 within the cage. I can see a 4, 6, and 7 within the cage. On the row, I can also see a 9. On the column, I can see an 8. So gradually, I'm stripping it down. And if, for argument's sake, let's say I can see the 1 and I can see the 1 and 3 as well, then suddenly I'm left with a single number. That means that is now naked all around. It hasn't got any other numbers. It's a naked single. So that's kind of the way we consider a naked number. But right now we make a single. But we can see, yeah, we've got 3 possible numbers in that cell, so we're going to ignore that. So these 2 cells, these 3 cells in fact, all have multiple pencil markings, so I can ignore that already. And I want to see if this is only possibly a 6. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Can't see a 5, so that means that's at least a 5 or a 6. So it's not a naked single. Although actually, looking at the 5s, I mean, it is kind of a pair, so can I find maybe a triple? No. Actually, let's look at this row as well, because I've only got 4 numbers, and I've got a blank cell in the 4. So let's see. I'm kind of moving away. Oh, actually, let's be disciplined and focus on the strategy that I'm using at the moment. So this 4 sees into all these cells as well, so I'm going to start with this cell because it has no candidates at the moment, so it has the highest probability of being a naked single. I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, can't see a 5, I can see a 6, 7, can't see an 8, so this is a 5 or an 8. So definitely no chance that it's an 8. Yes, definitely possibly an 8. So this is a 5 or an 8, that's no use. So bearing in mind, I'm now keeping in mind 5 and 8, and I'm going to look around these other cells. Well, this can't see a 5, so that's at least a 2 or a 5. I can't see a 5 here, so that's at least a 5 or a 7. So I've got no naked singles on this row, and I don't think that one is naked either, because this can't see a 5. So maybe I want to look at this row or this cage. I mean, I can't see a 1 in any of these cells, so I know these 4 values, these 4 cells, are at least 1 8 or 1 9s, so there's no point in looking at them. So the only ones worth looking at are these cells. Well, that one can't see a 3, so that's at least a 3 and 7. This one also can't see a 3, so that's at least a 3 and 5. So, that's not promising. So my strategy of using a weak number to try and identify a naked single hasn't worked. So I think the next strategy is probably looking at all the empty cells. 1, 2. Can't see 3 or 4, so that's no good. Although, no, definitely. 1, 2, 4. This can't see a 5 either. Oh yeah, this could be 3, 5. Hold on, 1, 2, 3. This can be 3, 4, or 5. Yeah, that's no good for me at all. This feels quite hard. That's what she said. So, okay, so now I'm going to look at not really weak areas, but just kind of weak-ish areas. There aren't any areas where I'm left with three cells, so I'm going to look at 4 cells now. So this is, if I look at this row, I've got 4 cells left, so I'm looking for 4 candidates: 2, 7, 8, 2, 5, 7, and 8. 2, 5, 7, and 8. So this is 5 and 8. 2, 5, 7, and 8. That's 6. So 7. Yeah. So nothing on there. So what I'm doing is looking at the numbers that I'm missing, and I'm just trying to see if any of the numbers are naked, basically. So by looking at the row, I will look down on the columns. So I'm thinking about 2, 5, 7, and 8. So I'm looking for 2, 5, 7, or 8 in these columns, basically. But I'm not getting anything at all. So what about here? I've got 4, 6, 8, and 5. 4, 6. So this cell can see 6 and 8. So that's 4 and 5, basically. This sees 6. So that's 4, 5, and 8. This sees 4 and 8, so that, hold on. Oh, that's 5 and 6, and this is 4 and 5. And that's 4, 6 and 8. Hold on a sec. Is that a triple? So this can be 4, 6 and 8. This can be 5 and 4, 4 and 5. Oh yeah, so there's no way there's a triple there. And this is 5 and 6, and this is 4, 5 and 8. Yeah, I don't have a triple hidden away here, so that's a bit annoying. So I can erase, what can I erase? Let's erase these cells first. Clean up the pencil marking a bit. So this can be a 6 or an 8. Yeah, that's the trouble of not having an undo button. So I can't just rewind back to all the pencil markings that I've already done. So 5, 4, 4, 4. So that's a 4, 4, 5, 6, 6. 6 is here. 6, 8, 8, 8, 8. Yeah, so that's the original pencil marking. So, I'm really surprised at how hard this puzzle is actually, because I can't see any more areas of 4s, and I have never encountered a New York Times medium puzzle where I need to extend to looking at 5 separate cells. So it feels like at this point it may be better off just to pencil marking everything, because the point of not pencil marking everything with Snyder notation to start with is to minimize the pencil marking you have, which can actually be a bit overwhelming after you've done enough of them, and it just kind of becomes counterproductive basically, because you can't actually see the board anymore. If you're lazy, what you can do is click on the auto candidate mode, and it'll basically fill all the pencil marking in for you. But auto candidate mode doesn't consider the pointed pairs or triples, so still pencil mark them in, so it's not actually completely useful from that perspective. So I'm just going around all the numbers from 1 to 9 now, to just pencil marking everything that I can see. So 5, 5, these can all be 5, so I've got 5 feels quite weak as well actually. 5, 5, so these can all be 5. 6, 6s I think are all pencil marked in. 7s, 7 pencil marked in there. 7, 7, so all the 7s are pencil marked in. 8s, so these can all be 8s. 8, 8, 8, 8. So that's all the 8s pencil marked in, and I think 9 is the last one. So 9, 9, 9, 9. 9s are there and there. Oh, so I've got naked single over here. Right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9. Right, so unfortunately I didn't spot it from my... Oh, do you know what? I could have spotted that because I've got a pointed pair of 4s over here. So, that was me being a bit silly. So yeah, when I look at weak numbers, with the 4 being weak, it is worth using the kind of the pointed pairs to try and see if you can find anything as well. I didn't even contemplate on using that this time for whatever reason. So I've got an 8 here, so let's clean up all the 8s, and that forces an 8 over there as well, which has to clean up these 8s. So now I've got another 8 here. So now I think it's just a case of kind of yeah, counting down all the numbers. So 4s can't go there anymore, so that resolves the 2, 6 and 9 there, so that's 4, 5 and that's 7. So I'm kind of using a bit of mental, I don't know what you call it, but I'm using, kind of keeping the numbers in my head as I erase them to figure out where they go basically. So 5s can't go there, so that's why I was able to fill all those in fairly quickly. So this has to be a 7, so these are 4s and 3s. That 7 also unlocks a 1 over here, and this is a 2. So this 2, does it do anything else? All the 2s are now done. So this 1, 2 hasn't unlocked anything for us yet. But I feel like some of these... Oh yeah, the 9. So 9 is locked in this cell. Have I got 9 over here as well? No, I haven't. So, yeah, apologies that I failed to spot, use my strategies to really identify what, successfully get a solve with just Snyder notations. Oh, done something wrong here. So what have I done wrong? I was missing a 1, so I've got a pair of 1s over here as well. 3, 5 and 7. Yep, that's definitely a 5, so that's a 3. And now that's 1 and 8 because of the 8 up there, so that 1 is now pushed in there, so 5 and 9. 3s can't go there anymore, 2s can't go there, so 4, 5. I've got a 5 up there, so 4 and 5. So this is now a 3, this is a 7, and the 4 and 3 are resolvable because of these 3s and 4s. And over here, this 3 locks a 3 down there, so that's a 5, that's a 4, which resolves the 4 and 3. So, yeah, so my strategy is definitely not infallible in that I'm not great at spotting all the naked singles, basically, but it was ultimately just a naked 8 that I failed to identify. But either way, I hope my failure has been a useful lesson for anyone watching, and I shall see you tomorrow. Please like and subscribe. Bye.